you enjoyed me reading Stickman and Tiddler last time. Now I'm reading something different. Well, I certainly enjoyed you reading Stickman, not Tiddler though. You should read Stickman more often. Yeah, well, I've read it once, so I can't really read it again. Ooh. Yeah, you can sit up there. We're not reading about you today. We are reading about the smartest giant in town. Have you ever seen a giant in town? Because if you have, you might want to look out. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said. Look at poor little sad George there. Sad wearing it. His brown sandals, patched up gown. There's other giants there who look a lot richer than him. So he's really sad. But one day George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes, so he thought, a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, smart belt, smart stripy tie, and some smart socks with diamonds on the side, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said. But just because you wear all these stuff that he says is smart, doesn't actually make you smarter. The shirt, the trousers, belt, tie, socks, and shoes. And there he is, looking in the little shop with all the people in. George left his old clothes behind in the shop, and he was about to go home when he heard a sound on the pavement. Stood a giraffe, sniffing sadly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my neck," said the giraffe. "It's very long and very cold. I wish I had a long warm scarf." There's George's clothes. Maybe he's talking to the giraffe. If you look closely, it's the man who sold him the stuff in the shop. It's the same man. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his stripy tie. "It didn't match my socks anyway," he said, and wrapped it round the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. "Thank you," said the giraffe. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself, "What is a scarf for a cold giraffe? But look me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town." And again, just because you wear some nice clothes doesn't make you smart. You can wear the best clothes in the world and you won't be smart. Look at that. She's smiling at George from being really nice. And if you look closely now, I've just noticed this. Here. Can you read that? Missing giraffe. That bunny is looking very confused there. So maybe that giraffe is the missing one. Well, let's carry on reading and find out what's going to happen next. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was belting loudly. "What's the matter?" asked George. It's my sail," said the goat. "It blew away in the storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat." Can any of you think of what could be used as a sail? I can't quite remember, but I think it's either his shirt or his trousers or his socks. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his new white shirt. It kept coming untucked anyway, he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. Thank you, said the goat. George strode off singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a good sail for a goat. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. No, it's been used really well. Now he's singing to himself. George came to a tiny ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. What's the matter? Asked George. It's a house, squeaked the mother. It burnt down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish I had a nice new house. What are you going to guess? What's your guess on what you could use? A house. House burning. And just completely destroyed. What do you think he's going to use? Oh, no. Cheer up, said George, and took off one of his if you said a shoe, then you're correct. Cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his new shiny shoes. It was giving me blisters anyway, he said, as the mouse and her baby scrambled inside the shoe. It made a perfect home for them. Thank you, they squeaked. George had to hop along the road, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself. And ties a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat is a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for white little mice. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a campsite beside the tent stood a fox who was crying. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my sleeping bag, said the fox. I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag. Oh, that's a shame. As I'm walking, falling off, then in the puddle. Cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his socks with the diamonds on the side. It was tickling my toes anyway, he said. As the fox snuggled into it, it made a very fine sleeping bag. Thank you, said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat is a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of me socks is a bed for a fox. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. If anyone's read it or watched it or anything, Princess and the Frog. Saw a princess there holding on to a frog. George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog was a dog who was howling. What's the matter? Asked George. It's the bog, said the dog. I need to get across, but I kept getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path. What do you think he's going to use? can't quite remember, but I think he uses his belt. Say it out loud when you think you know what it is. Cheer up, said George, and took off his... Correct if you said belt. His smart new belt. It was squashing my tummy anyway, he said, and he laid it down over the dog and made an excellent path. Thank you, said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat is a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of me socks is a bed for a fox. My belt helps a dog who was crossing a bog. But what do you think's gonna happen? Just pretend that never happened. My trousers are falling down. I'm the coolest giant in town. Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery, and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes, he decided. He turned round and hopped back the way to the shop. You can see if you look carefully, you'll be able to see all of the landmarks that it's been to. So here, you've got the bog. Then back here, if you can just see, there's the campsite. Then you've got the river. And then the village. Also, there is three bears. Well, God, you're not seeing the three bears, but there's only the bears. Oh, dang it. But when he got there, it was closed. Oh no, cried George. He sank onto the doorstep and a tear ran down his nose. He felt sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. My gown! He yelled. My dear old gown and sandals. George put them on. They felt wonderfully comfortable. I'm the cosiest giant in town, he cried, and he danced back home along the road. There he is, all sad and lonely. And there he is, nice and comfortable in his gown. Outside his front door stood all of the animals that he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. Come on, George, they said, open it. George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. Look inside the card, George, said the animals. George put the crown on his head and then opened the card. You gave your scarf to a cold giraffe. Your shirt on a boat is a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helps a dog who is crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown. We got to go with your sandals and crown for the kindest giant in town. There is with all the animals and the crown. There's a letter that they wrote him. I hope you enjoyed me reading that. Bye!